we're excited about the opportunity. Obviously, when you look at the brackets, it's very difficult when you think about Nebraska being 13-5 in the Big Ten, and to be a 5 seed was a little surprising to me because they've been very, very good, and I follow them closely. I really like their coach, and one of my good friends that I work with at the University of Pittsburgh is their executive associate AD. So, and as you guys know, we played them, so the irony of that is interesting. When we had the special fundraiser for hurricane relief, so they'll be familiar with Starkville, having returning for, obviously late in the season now. But they're very talented. We already know that, having played them once. They had a fine year. We're excited about the opportunity. Quick update on Nick Weatherspoon. We returned yesterday, and he had the CT of the bony process of his hip, which showed all negative. Then today he had MRI of his hip, and again it showed, the basic bottom line is it's a bad hip contusion where he had muscles affected by it. There is some slight bruising of the bone, but not in a significant way, which is good news. And it's just going to take some time here for him to heal and recover, and how much time is, anybody's guess. But yeah, I do not anticipate him playing here Wednesday night for sure. Questions? No, you asked that before. I mean, if we're playing in New York and he can make it back by then, it's all based on, we're not going to rush him back. I mean, we're going to be very conservative as we would with any injury. But there's no plan just to say, hey, we're shutting him down, which is, we're hoping that there's a possibility that he can play, which means, we've won.
It's been a while since this program's made the postseason. Just what does it say about the progress of the program this year 3,
Yeah, well, we're excited to be in postseason. I mean, it's it's a good step for us. I mean, we're disappointed it's not the NCAA tournament, but the NIT is a great tournament. And you start looking at the field and you look at some of the teams. I mean, there's definitely some teams in this tournament that are very worthy of being in the NCAA tournament, and are teams that are going to be very tough. And so, Nebraska, for us, I mean, Nebraska, beat Michigan by 20. Nebraska has had some really fine wins in their league, and they're a senior-dominated group of guys. They're older, so they've been through a lot, as have we, since we saw each other early on in November, and this will be a good game, and I'm just hoping we'll have a nice crowd here. I know it's a late game. I think it's an 8 o'clock start, if I'm not mistaken, on Tuesday night, but we're hoping that we'll have good support for this, and we'll be excited. It's tough for us to have our students gone right now, so we need a real show of support from people not only here in Starkville but outside the area to come and be a part of this here and support the Bulldogs in postseason play. I think it's fine. I mean, they do it every year, and so we'll do whatever they ask us to do.
Can you take anything all away from playing Nebraska earlier? Is that so long ago now?
I understand. I'm sorry.
Can you take anything at all away from?
That's so long ago that it's incredible. What was it? November? Was that what it was? It was October 22nd. So yeah, that's a long time ago. That was like 3 weeks into practice. It was a great game for us, but we that's for both teams. Both teams have evolved and changed, and at the end of the day, though, they've had a lot of success, and we had some of our own.
If Nick's not able to go, you said it probably wouldn't be on Wednesday. Where do those minutes kind of go to?
Well, I mean, we'll see. Obviously, Tyson, Eli, and then Zay will play some minutes. As a 3 as well. So those will be the guys that, and then that also means that, Keyshawn will get some more minutes at the 4, where in the last 2 games he's been playing the backup 5.
There's been a few DNPs for Thatcher lately. Is that still the decision, or
That's coach's decision.
Also, just with the NIT, a lot of times people like to say that it's a great experience for teams to build and hopefully get into the NCAA tournament the following year. Statistics on that are hit or miss, depending on obviously what the school is. How do you view it? What do you hope to get?
Oh, I think it's great, especially for a young team. You remember now, we don't have a senior. We don't have anybody who's ever played in postseason. This is a great experience. My good buddy Jamie Dixon, their team won it last year, and they returned this year, and I think really benefited from it. If I've had teams in the past at Pitt, we went my second year, actually lost to Mississippi State in the second round, but then the following year went to the Sweet 16, the NCAA tournament. We went my third year at Northern Arizona. Our fourth year, we went to the NCAA tournament. So I definitely think it's a plus leading up to the next year, especially when you have a lot of the group that's playing in that tournament returning the following year.
In what ways do you sort of grow between now and say you make a deep run? Where do you hope to grow? What areas?
Again, postseason play is different than the regular season, and you're playing someone that you haven't seen twice, or it's not in your league, that you don't know a lot about. It's a quick turnaround. I mean, it's tournament play. And, getting that tournament action and that tournament preparation, I think, is a good thing. And it's fun. I mean, come on, this is a great experience for them. And, the goal is obviously for every team that is in this tournament is to try to get to Madison Square Garden. And I've coached in the Garden and been blessed to do that. And that's a great experience, as you know, being from up that area. I mean, there's nothing more special than getting to MSG and having a chance to play in the Garden. That's every great player in the history of the game has played at Madison Square Garden. That is a common denominator for great basketball players. If you are a great player, you've played in the Garden at some point in your career. And I would love for our players to have that driving force and goal to get a chance to be in the Garden. I beg your pardon?
Thoughts on the league getting 10 teams into postseason?
Yeah, and Georgia's players elected to not go, and I thought South Carolina had a good chance to get in. So it's great that our league, as I said many times, I think the 8 teams that were invited to the NCAA tournament. We're going to have, just looking at the brackets today and seeing the matchups, we're going to have, as a league, I think, a lot of success, and obviously we'll be pulling for all of our fellow league participants in the NCAA tournament and in the NIT.
Just in general, in the NCAA tournament, were there any kind of surprises that you saw? What were your thoughts on the field of 68?
The committee always has a tough job. I mean, there's always going to be a couple teams that are left out that are obviously sorely disappointed. And, today, you look at the Rhode Island-Davidson game, by Davidson winning that game, that knocked somebody else. And you heard the chair of the committee tonight say that team was Notre Dame. So, I mean, they're telling you who it is. And, the thing that's interesting now, though, and something that, we have to be really cognizant of moving forward, very aware of, is that November is just as important as the last month of your conference season. In other words, you're seeing teams that are limping into the tournament that are still getting in based on what they did. So it's kind of a change. It used to be, that how you finished your last 10 or 12 games really mattered. And I don't know that it matters as much as it used to, which, to me, I always thought that was an important thing, how you finish. And I don't think that's as critical in either way. If you finish poorly or you finish good, it's, November is as important as the last, month of the season.
Going off of that, for a young team like you guys, making November so important. As a young team trying to figure out your way, especially getting into a Division I unit for the first time, how does that, I guess, change the dynamic of you as a coach trying to prepare guys in November like you would?
Well, one thing they did a good job of is that they've changed the rules where we get to start practice earlier now. Like the women actually were the ones that started it. began much earlier, so you have 30 practices starting 40 days prior to your first game, which it used to be. You had the Friday closest to October 15th, so that's helped. But it's still tough. I mean, you're still asking a lot to prioritize those games in early November when it's really on, especially when you're a young team. But that's just how it is.